ಎಲ್ಲ ಬದಿಯ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಈ ಥರ ಸರಿ ಗಂಗಾ ನಾನೇ
Namaste to one and all. I request all the distinguished guests to please come on the dais and take the respective seats. Honorable Guruji, Chancellor of S-VYASA Yoga University, Dr. B.R. Ramakrishna Sir, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Soumya Chavan, Dean of Yoga and Humanities, Professor Arvind Jamkedkar, Dr. S.K. Aruni, and Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj. Yoga is a way to learn and understand the spiritual India. It is indeed associated with the culture and heritage of India. With this, we have assembled on this auspicious occasion for National Seminar on Understanding Yoga and Community Health, organized by S-VYASA, deemed to be University, Indian Council of Historical Research, Government of India. Without a much further delay, let us now begin the session. It is our culture to remember the God Almighty before everything we do or we start. This function seeking the blessing and presence of Almighty. I would like to request Dr. Sri Gauri with the song to invoke the divinity on this auspicious occasion.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका शरणु पार्वती तनय मूर्ति शरणु मूषिक वाहना शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका निटिल नेत्रने देवी सुतने नागभूषण प्रियने निटिल नेत्रने देवी सुतने नागभूषण प्रियने तटिलताङ्कित कोमलांगने कर्णकुण्डलधारणे हे शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका बट्टमुत्तिन पदकहारने बाहुहस्तचतुष्टने बट्टमुत्तिन पदकहारने बाहुहस्तचतुष्टने ऊट्टतोडुगेय हेमकङ्कण पाशङ्कुशधारणे हे शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका कुक्षिमः लम्बोदरने इक्षुचापनगेलिदने कुक्षिमः लम्बोदरने इक्षुचापनगेलिदने पक्षिवाहन सिरिपुरन्दर विठलना निजदासने हे शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका शरणु पार्वती तनय मूर्ति शरणु मूषिक वाहना शरणु सिद्धि विनायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका शरणु विद्या प्रदायका.
Thank you, Dr. Sri Gauri. I would now like to invite all the dignitaries to inaugurate the function by lighting up the lamp.
ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
ಅದು ಕೂಡ ನೆನವಾಗ್ಲಿದೆ ಟಾಪ್ ಲೀಡರ್ಸ್ next after everybody sits you call VC for welcome isn't
Thank you, dignitaries. I will now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. B.R. Ramakrishna sir, to please address the gathering.
गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं अस्मद् आचार्य पर्यन्तं वंदे गुरु परंपराम्. Today we have assembled here with a very special objective of national seminar with respect to understanding yoga and community health, both ancient versus the modern perspective. Today's seminar is being organized by our S-VYASA deemed to be university with the support and collaboration of Indian Council of Historical Research, Government of India, New Delhi. At the outset, let me thank the Government of India for their support, in particular Ichr. For today's function, the initiation was given by our Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj ji, who is really instrumental. He joined our institution after he got his retirement from Atal Bihari Vajpayee Hindi University, Bhopal, as Vice Chancellor. He is the Professor Emeritus in our university and working in different dimensions. And he gave an initiation and it has come into the reality today. And let me express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj ji for his initiation. Namaste, sir. And all our functions are being invigorated and it is being given a proper direction and blessings by none other than our most respected Chancellor and Guruji, Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who is the real force for all of us in all directions in running this institution in a very meaningful way and spreading its fragrance throughout the world. So for today's function, I welcome our Guruji to preside over and bless us and direct us. Guruji. For today's function, we have Professor Aravind Jamdekar, who has traveled from Pune, is a scholar of many Indian languages, including Sanskrit. He is a historian and archaeologist. He is presently the Chancellor of Deccan College, Pune. He has been the former chairman of Ichr. And it is our fortunate that today he is with us to grace the occasion and bless us. And I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, on behalf of Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan Samsthan deemed to be University, sir. We have today S.K. Arunji, Deputy Director, Ichr, South Regional Center, Bangalore, as a special observer. And without his support and direction, today's function wouldn't have been not possible. And on behalf of our university, I extend cordial welcome to S.K. Arun. And as I already mentioned, Ramdev Bharadwaj ji, he was an eminent scholar and a renowned economist and written several books, many books. in various, he was professor, visiting professor in various universities of South and Southeast Asia, and presently he is Professor Emeritus of our S-VYASA deemed to be University, and a versatile author. You give him a task, he will complete before its scheduled time. Such a wonderful authorly person we have. Sir, once again, I extend cordial welcome to you, sir, from Swami Vivekananda Yoganasandhan Samsthan. For today's function, we have Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal, art historian, and he is author of more than 25 books and a renowned scholar. Today he is with us as a scholarly person, as a resource person, and I extend my cordial welcome, madam. And we also have Professor Nandagopal, former advisor to Jain University, and it is my pleasure to extend cordial welcome to Professor Nandagopal sir also. We have with us today Harisha GB. He is author of several books on Indian culture and former director of ICCR Vietnam, and I extend my cordial welcome to you, sir. Also, we have Dr. Purna Suresh today. She is a performing artist of our Bangalore University, and today she is with us to be as a resource person. I extend my cordial welcome to you, madam. And we have our Soumya, the Dean of Academics, and also she is in charge of the Division of Humanities, and she is a very scholarly woman, and in fact we should congratulate her. Recently she has been entered into the empanelment list of ICCR, and she is really an asset and wisdom for the university, and she has joined very recently, but showing her talent in every field. I express you, Soumya. It is my pleasure. And we have our dynamic registrar, Professor Sridhar, not only an administrator, a very scholarly person. You take any field, he is there, Sridhar is there. So without Sridhar, no field for that matter. That is how we rather acknowledge and admire Professor Sridhar. And he is the guiding force, and he is taking care of the entire administration and the management of this seminar. I express my heartfelt welcome to Professor Sridhar. And the participants, without you, this program cannot happen. And a few more people are joining. They are on the way. You know, the mess of Bangalore traffic. That's okay. But I extend my cordial welcome to one and all. And I wish that this seminar will definitely throw a light on several aspects of Indian history. That is the need of the hour. We might have reached zenith in science and technology, but without knowing the historical background, without knowing the wisdom and the value of the history, there is no use. America is a great country without history, but ours is a country with long history. We should know it. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir. The challenge of leadership is to be strong but not rude, be kind but not weak, be bold but not a bully, be thoughtful but not lazy, be humble but not timid, but be proud but not arrogant, have humor but without folly. I would now like to request our Honorable Guruji, Dr. H.R. Nagendraji, to give the inaugural address.
नमः श्री अतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित् सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे तापहारिणे. My dear brothers and sisters, it's such a pleasure that the Indian Council of Historical Research has come forward to sponsor this beautiful seminar to look at the community health and the role of yoga, spirituality as our ancient heritage. And this has been made possible, as Honorable Vice Chancellor said, it's all contribution of our Ramdev Bharadwaj, and but for him, it would not have happened. Or should we say, we're very thankful to you. More than that, we're grateful to you. And all of you are familiar with the concept of health as defined by the World Health Organization. Health is not merely absence of a disease or an infirmary. It's a state of well-being at the physical level, mental level, social level, and even at the spiritual level. So it's a very comprehensive definition given by this. In Ayurveda, we have the dimensions, Prasanna, Atma, Indriya, Manaha, added on to that. That is, we should become healthier day by day by increasing our happiness, bliss in our life. And this should not be only restricted to an individual, but it should go to the entire society. That's why the social health is also very important. In that, the community health plays a very, very important role. We have seen the devastating effect of this COVID, which has shattered our entire globe with this devastating effect. And we were rolled into such challenges by this big pandemic that we all encountered over last 2 years. Millions of people have died, and so many sufferers has gone on. In Ayurveda, it said every 100 years, there is going to be a pandemic like this. And earlier we had plague, we had cholera, and whatnot, as the biggest of the pandemics. And I remember my grandmother used to say that when the plague and the cholera came, every day a first lorry will come in the street and pick up the dead bodies from each house and dump it. And the next lorry will come, the truck will come and bring the food needed for the people. That was the condition. Fortunately, because of science and technology, we did not have that, but all our hospitals were loaded with people, and there was a shortage of oxygen also in our hospitals. Therefore, it is these pandemics which we have to deal with, infectious and contagious diseases and viral diseases like COVID and so on. So, the approach of the modern medical world has been immense. In the last century, the contribution of allopathy to develop vaccines, antibiotics, and others to deal with such community health challenges have been exemplary. But for that, we would not have reached the heights of health as we have today. Therefore, the WHO was so enthused that they announced we are going to bring for health for all by the end of the last century. But what happened? As they reached the end of the last century, a new pandemic arose, which today we call as a non-communicable diseases. Asthma, diabetes, hypertension, heart problem, epilepsy, migraine, irritable bowel syndrome, cancer, and schizophrenia, and large number of psychiatric problems. And we are thinking about 0.5% and 1% mortality in the COVID. But look at the cancer, look at diabetes, look at the heart problems. The number goes almost to 3%, 4% of the entire population. The prevalence is increasing day by day. We had a big survey throughout the country about the prevalence of diabetes. 2.5 lakh people were surveyed throughout the country in all the different states. And it was done in a record time of 3 months, and complete survey. And what did we find? Diabetes is increasing. In the villages, it used to be about 4%, 4.5% diabetes type 2. But today it has increased to 9%, 10%. In the cities, it used to be 10, 11%. Now it has gone to 18, 19%. And we are racing fast. If China is number one in diabetes, India is racing to become the diabetic capital of the world. So this is how diabetes is spreading. A very intense diabetic metabolic disorder, which causes all the challenges at the basic syndrome that we have. So therefore, these community health challenges are coming up in a very big way. In spite of all the achievements that we have done in the allopathy, in the medical system, very, very powerful pharmacological interventions we have developed, and we have large number of surgeries. We can probably replace every part of the body. 5,000 types of surgeries available today. And we are even racing to change our genes themselves with the gene therapy so that your entire personality can be changed. All that we have done. But no solution to the modern NCDs. Once a diabetic, ever a diabetic. Once you have hypertension, you have to go on taking medicine for life. Never think of a cure. No complete reversal is possible at all. And what to talk about cancer? Once you have cancer, your days are numbered. And this is what is happening. Here we have collaboration with Narayan Hudayalaya. Dr. Devi Shetty, who is the director, who is telling us that earlier, 15, 20 years back, the people who used to come with heart problems essentially used to be 45 years, 50 years, 55 and later. But today, I have started getting people at the age of 20, 25. Young people coming with a heart attack and doing these things. It has started spreading into the entire youth community as well. This has become the biggest challenge in the community health. Therefore, the community health has to be addressed with great fervor. Yes, please come, sir. Arunji, please come and occupy your seat. So that's what is happening to the health perspective. Therefore, please come. Arunji, good. As already introduced by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, we have got Dr. S.K. Arunji, who joined us, and he is the Deputy Director of the South Regional Center of the Indian Council of Health Research. And we welcome you, sir, for this inaugural program of this seminar being organized under your collaboration. Thank you. So I have been telling how devastating has been the viral diseases and the infectious diseases in the last century. And we have been able to solve these problems by modern medical research and allopathic system. But the challenges of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, have gone unabated. They are spreading as wildfire, and we have no solution. Imagine in our country, 80% are all in rural areas. If the number has increased from 4% to 9% diabetes, look at the big financial burden that India has to take. Here, India comes to the forefront because in our country, we had developed a complete knowledge base, and that is based on the total dimension of our human personality. Modern medical science is based on modern science. Modern science over the 400 years has understood everything about the physical world. We know today that every object is made out of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. Atoms are made of protons, neutrons, electrons, fundamental particles. What are they made of? They're all made of quarks, packets of energy. So everything in the physical world is nothing but energy. And you can calculate how much of energy is in given mass. E equals mc square. We also understood the laws that govern them. Newton's laws of motion. 3 laws which all have studied in high school days. That is called as the classical mechanics, deterministic approach. But when you go to extremely high speeds, like an electron spinning around the nucleus, carrying the velocities of light, then Newtonian mechanics will not hold. Classical mechanics will not hold. You have to go to the higher laws called quantum mechanics, theory of relativity. What is the difference? If I leave an object, it is going to come down by 32. Everything is determined in the macro world. If I moon, every trajectory can be traced every millisecond, mathematically accurate, deterministic. But if you leave an electron can come down, electron can go up, can go to the front, to the back, to the right or left. In fact, an electron develops like a globe. Therefore, you cannot say where will be the electron after 1 second. It can be here, it can be here, it can be there, it can be far away. So the determinacy collapses. And what is to be done? We can only talk about probability. Probability of finding electron is 1%. Probability of finding electron here 0.1%. Probability function can describe the possibility of seeing the electron in different places. And we have the equation for that. That is Schrodinger equation, probability function. Therefore, we have understood everything about the physical world. Therefore, anything physical, we have been a big success. Putting man on the moon, building skyscrapers, underwater tunnels, information technology, and large number of this, very powerful pharmacological interventions, surgical interventions, everything physical. But what is happening to science? Science is moving further to understand the deeper and subtler dimensions of this creation. Is there something like prana? What is it that we call as mind? Can mind exist without the brain? If I ask anybody, can mind exist with the brain? Everybody would say no, impossible. But yoga says yes. We are not just the physical body. It's only the gross physical body called Sthula Sharira. Then we have got 4 more bodies: Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya koshas. They are unseen. And everything starts with the Anandamaya kosha, which creates the Vijnanamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha. Finally, it condenses into the physical body. And therefore, physical body is the end product of the kosha. And therefore, in Anandamaya kosha form, then it comes out as the kinetic form in the Vijnanamaya kosha, the perfect state of health. From there come to the Manomaya kosha, where emotions start taking over and stresses begin and imbalances start, and that is the beginning of NCDs. And that's called Adi, uncontrolled speed of the mind, and imbalances at the mind level, and that starts percolating down to the Pranamaya kosha, causing imbalances, which in turn causes imbalance in the physical body, causing autonomic imbalance, endocrine imbalance, and imbalances each and every system in the body. And that when continued for long, you get this modern NCDs. They're called Vyadhi. Adi becomes Vyadhi. Adi is a Vyadhi. What all we are doing in the physical world, in the to deal with the symptoms of the disease. We try to track the disease to deeper and deeper level in the physical body. And we started with muscular level, then we went to nervous system level, then we went to the genes level, and in the neurotransmitter levels also. We have all pharmacology. We can give symptomatic relief, but we are not addressing Adi, because we don't understand what is mind. We don't understand what is prana. Therefore, you are not removing the root cause of the disease. Therefore, even in early cancer, you have wonderful chemotherapy, surgical intervention, everything. And after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, again they get back, cancer spread everywhere. And spreads wildfire. So also everywhere. Unless you remove the root cause, you cannot think of a cure for these NCDs. This is where yoga, spirituality, our ancient historical things of India comes into picture. So here we deal with the totality of the human system and see that the Adi is removed. Therefore, the Indian perspective for the community health is to bring yoga to the forefront. But what is yoga? Many people think it is some sort of a physical exercise, asanas. Far from it. Yoga is the science of holistic living. Yoga is a way of life. And Swami Vivekananda heralded the grandeur of this yoga by his famous proclamation saying that we have 4 main streams of yoga. Bhagavad Gita is the Yoga Shastra, and it is the essence of all the Upanishads. Sarvopanishadha, Sarasangraha, Bhutoyam Grantaha. Shankaracharya writes in the commentary on Bhagavad Gita. All the knowledge base which are available in the Upanishads are condensed and edited in our Bhagavad Gita. Every chapter is a yoga. Imagine, even the first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, even that melancholy can be a yoga. How? It raised Arjuna to the greater heights. Yoga is a way by which we raise ourselves from our normal level to become great, super, divine human beings and reach that perfection itself, reach that ultimate reality itself. That is what yoga is. That can be done either through the intellect or through the emotions or through action level or through the willpower. Jnana yoga, Raj yoga, Bhakti yoga, Karma yoga. Work or worship philosophy or psychic control by one or more or of these, he said, Swami Vivekananda. Therefore, we have used that dimension, but the great yoga master of masters, Sri Aurobindo, said, the modern times is full of challenges, not only at the physical level, at the mind level, emotional level, intellectual level. Therefore, we need all the four streams. Therefore, he called it as integral yoga, which consists of Jnana Yoga, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. So we adopted this integrated approach of yoga to deal with these health challenges, what we call as the integrated approach of yoga therapy. So we work at the body level, we work at the prana level, the mind level, emotional level, intellectual level, and to bring the bliss. Not only we should be free from disease, but we should see that we grow better and better in our health service and should spread throughout the country for the community health growth. The whole community should be full of health, blossoming with health perspective. This can happen only when you bring this dimension of yoga, spirituality. That is what Indian Council of Historical Research has taken up. And this community seminar that we are doing is essentially for that, to show that we should not deal only with the Aryan invasion or whether this particular was available or not. The whole knowledge base is available to us to understand the whole of this creation and even that's beyond. And therefore, this beautiful seminar is meant to understand this deeper dimension of historical prevalence of our Indian lore and see how this can be made applicable to deal with the community health. Realizing that our Honorable Prime Minister rightly pushed yoga to bring yoga to more and more people throughout the country. The International Day of Yoga on June 21st was a historical thing that he was able to bring. If in 1893, September 11, our great Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, was able to herald the grandeur of Indian historical achievement of India to the people at large in the Parliament of Religions, again it's another Narendra who came and told the UNO that yoga is the real solution for bringing health, bringing community health, bringing peace on earth. Therefore, he suggested we should celebrate June 21st as the International Day of Yoga. What a response. Even 43 Islamic countries came forward and said, yes, we have to adopt June 21st as the day of yoga. And since then, it's going on around the world. And last year, the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Ayush particularly has been told we must spread to a large number of people. The target was 20 crores of people. And last year, we achieved 18 crores of people to practice the yoga special protocol that we had developed. And this year, the target goes further, 25 crores. Ministry of External Affairs have been asked to went all over the world. In every country should do this thing. And I was told 1 million people practiced last year in the United States. And more people are coming forward. Therefore, by bringing yoga, you are able to develop this entire dimension of NCDs, which deals with Adhidya Vyadhi, apart from improving our immune system to deal with this COVID-like viruses and other infectious and contagious diseases. And here we have got our student from the College of Naturopathy, College of Ayurveda, and others who have been trained in this direction as to how we can use the dimensions of yoga, naturopathy, Ayurveda, physiotherapy, acupuncture, and all these things to build this aspect of health for not only prevention, to promote positive health, apart from dealing with diseases. In our Arogya Dhama here we have, which is running for last 35 years, we have a 450-bed facility now where people come at various levels. We want even normal people to come here and to prevent disease and promote positive health. And people with various entities come here, they get miraculous improvements and benefits, and we have thousands and thousands of people who have got the benefit. And everything is based on scientific research. Evidence-based is the key essence. In modern times, the paradigm is to have scientific research. So this university is known for research, and we have published nearly 800 and odd yoga research papers, and we have beautiful research lab, which all of you should go around and visit to see how this is the most unique research lab that we have developed, where we can measure all aspects of the human system, not only that, the prana and the mind, emotions, everything we can measure. Thereby, this is the most unique thing. So we can measure gene expression, we can have autonomic parameters, the blood parameters, and then Vaishnav, headed by our Dr. Manjunath, is coming up in a wonderful way as the most unique research lab. Therefore, based on that, we are spreading this message on evidence-based, research-based, to see that this yoga comes. And that is the message that India provides. which is giving direction to the modern medical science, giving direction to modern science, and take it to the broader heights and expanded heights, to move from the physical world to the world of prana, mind, emotions, intellect, with the total jagat that we have. Therefore, it is most appropriate that the Indian Council of Historical Research has come forward to support this seminar, in which we have got excellent people who are going to present their things, and we have our keynote by our wonderful speaker, our Arvind Jamkekar. He's going to give an introduction later, and keynote address he's going to give. I was told at the age of 4, he started studying the Bhagavad Gita, the Sanskrit, and goes on and on. Therefore, he's the right person who has been chosen. Thanks to Soumyaji for selecting him and bringing him to give the keynote address. We're all looking forward to the wonderful concept note presentation by Ramdevji and the keynote by our Arvind Jamkekar and others. With that, once again, I welcome all of you to this beautiful seminar and congratulate once again our ICHR for supporting us. Namaskar.
Thank you, Guruji, for the inaugural address. I now request Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj, former Vice Chancellor, Atal Bihari Hindi Vishwavidyalaya, Bhopal, and currently serving as a Professor Emeritus, Division of Yoga and Humanities, S-VYASA University, to give the concept note on the national seminar.
ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। आप सभी लोगों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन है। सर्वप्रथम आदर को मैं प्रणाम करता हूँ। विश्वविद्यालय के कुलगुरु रामकृष्णन जी और इस संगोष्ठी में मुख्य भाषण बीज वक्तव्य देने के लिए आए हुए पूना से जाम खेमकर जी, ICHR के आरुणी जी, विश्वविद्यालय के कुलसचिव श्रीधर जी, हम यहाँ सभी लोग 2 दिन तक एक विशेष विषय पर चर्चा करेंगे। विषय है योग और सामुदायिक स्वास्थ्य। इसमें 3 बातें हैं: योग, समुदाय और स्वास्थ्य। मूलतः यदि देखें तो संसार में कोई व्यक्ति मरना नहीं चाहता, लेकिन वो ये तो सभी की है, मेरी भी है। लेकिन वो जीवन जीना चाहता है निरोग हो करके, कोई व्याधि ना हो, कोई रोग ना हो, कोई परेशानी ना हो, शारीरिक, मानसिक, सामाजिक, आर्थिक, अन्य सब। और आज पूरा विश्व यह अनुभव करने लगा है कि योग में वो ताकत है जो मन, बुद्धि, आत्मा इन सब को समुच्चय करती है, जोड़ती है। और वैज्ञानिक लोगों ने यह भी प्रमाणित किया है, भारतवर्ष में तो मनीषी हजारों वर्षों से कहते आ रहे हैं कि सभी व्याधियों की जो जड़ है वो है मन। मन पर कैसे नियंत्रण करें? संसार में सभी प्रकार के रोग मन से जुड़े हुए हैं। सभी प्रकार के तनावों का केंद्र मन है। सभी प्रकार की नकारात्मक और सकारात्मक ऊर्जाओं का स्रोत केंद्र है। और यह तनाव, नकारात्मकता, सकारात्मकता, यही समस्याओं की जड़ है। आज यह भी प्रमाणित हो गया है कि जितनी भी बीमारियां हैं उनको यदि जड़ से खत्म करना है तो कोई पैथी काम नहीं आती। न एलोपैथी काम आती है, न होम्योपैथी काम आती है, न यूनानी काम आती है। यहाँ तक कि आयुर्वेद भी एक सीमा तक उसे नियंत्रित करता है। लेकिन मन एक ऐसी पैथी है, योग दर्शन एक ऐसी पैथी है, मन पर नियंत्रण और आत्म केंद्रण, आत्म संतुलन एक ऐसी पैथी है जो इन सभी बीमारियों को जड़ से नष्ट करती है। इसलिए हमने ये विषय चुना कि क्यों न हम इस विश्वविद्यालय में इस प्रकार की एक परिचर्चा करें। यह बात भी मैं स्पष्ट करना चाहूंगा कि मन में डर, भय, तनाव, अशांति, आशंका, अंदेशा, संवेदनशीलता, असंवेदनशीलता, अवसाद, ईर्ष्या, द्वेष, ये जो शब्द हैं, सारी बीमारियां इन्हीं शब्दों से जन्म लेती हैं। और ये जो विषय है ये हमारे मन में जन्म लेते हैं। इसलिए मन के मनोभाव को समझ लें और उस मनोभाव में योग के माध्यम से हम आसन प्राणायाम से यदि हम इन शब्दों की गहराई में जाकर के इनसे विमुक्ति पालें तो हम निरोग रह सकते हैं। जिस उदाहरण के लिए मैं बताऊं, बुद्धि, विचार, भावना, सुख, दुख, हर्ष, ईर्ष्या, उपहास, निंदा, तिरस्कार, घृणा, ये ऐसे शब्द हैं जो व्यक्ति के जीवन में रोग पैदा करते हैं, एंजाइटी पैदा करते हैं, घबराहट पैदा करते हैं कि मेरे पास संसार में ये नहीं है, उसके पास ये है, मुझे ये लेना है, भौतिक सुख संपदा लेना है, ज्ञान की सुख संपदा लेना है, आर्थिक सुख संपदा लेना है। और यह लेने के लिए जब मनुष्य दौड़ता है तो निश्चित तौर पर उसकी दिनचर्या, उसका जीवन, उसका स्वरूप बदल जाता है। और इसलिए यह जरूरी है कि मन की इन अवस्थाओं से हम कुछ सीखें और उस जड़ तक पहुंचें जहां से ये उत्पन्न होते हैं। और यह सारा विज्ञान हमारे योग दर्शन में देखने को मिलता है। मनोभाव के कारण व्यक्ति को नींद नहीं आती, नकारात्मक सोचता रहता है, घबराहट होती रहती है, उच्च रक्तचाप और निम्न रक्तचाप होते हैं, श्वास से संबंधित बीमारियां होती हैं। अभी माननीय गुरुजी ने पूरी विस्तार से इस बात को व्याख्यान किया। सब प्रकार की बीमारियों की जड़ निश्चित तौर पर यह है। और इसमें हमें, यदि हम देखें तो हमारे मन के विकारों को दूर करने के लिए जो प्राणायाम की व्यवस्थाएं हैं, जिसमें विशेष तौर पर शीतली प्राणायाम, भर्त्सिका, कपालभाति, भ्रामरी, उद्दीप और उज्जैनी प्राणायाम, इनको हम महत्व देते हैं। और अन्य प्रकार के आसनों के बारे में भी हम इस बात को ध्यान देते हैं। यह बात हम आज नहीं कर रहे हैं, यह लगभग 5000 वर्ष पूर्व सिंधु घाटी सभ्यता के दौरान यह उत्पन्न हुई। ऋग्वेद में इसका सर्वप्रथम उल्लेख मिलता है। उसके बाद में रामायण काल, महाभारत काल, भगवत गीता, इन सब में इनको देखने को मिलता है। स्वामी विवेकानंद ने पश्चिम में योग विद्या को आगे बढ़ाने में अपनी जो निभाई है वह हम सब जानते हैं। आज सबसे बड़ी जो शिक्षा है वह दुनिया ये मान चुकी है कि योग के माध्यम से हम इन चीज़ों का निदान कर सकते हैं। एक अमेरिका की नेशनल सेंटर फॉर हेल्थ स्ट्रेटेजिक इंस्टीट्यूट के द्वारा एक डाटा इकट्ठा किया गया था। उसमें ये बताया था कि 2012 से लेकर के 2017 के बीच में लोगों में योगाभ्यास करने का जो क्रम था वो 9.5 से बढ़कर 14.3 तक हो गया। और बच्चों में 3% से हट करके वो 8.4% तक हो गया। योग शिक्षकों की संख्या में भी 83%, 83% वृद्धि हुई है। पूरी दुनिया में योग प्रशिक्षकों की मांग बढ़ती जा रही है। इस दृष्टि से S-VYASA विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा भारत के बाहर जो अन्य अध्ययन केंद्र खोले हैं, उन अध्ययन केंद्रों के माध्यम से यह सब हम आगे योजनाबद्ध तरीके से इसके प्रशिक्षण का काम कर रहे हैं। भारत सरकार के द्वारा भी कम्युनिटी हेल्थ सिस्टम के माध्यम से आयुष विभाग ने अन्य प्रकार के चीज़ों के साथ साथ उन्होंने सामुदायिक जो स्वास्थ्य है उसकी व्यवस्था की है। और सामुदायिक स्वास्थ्य में उसमें योग से जुड़े हुए आसनों के माध्यम से उन समुदायों में रोग के निदान की प्रक्रिया आरंभ की है। आज लगभग 30,000 कम्युनिटी सेंटर एक कम्युनिटी हेल्थ के अंदर चल रहे हैं। और इसी प्रकार से लगभग 1,20,000 लोग एक निश्चित परिक्षेत्र में इसका जो लाभ है उसे प्राप्त कर रहे हैं। यहाँ मैं इस बात का भी उल्लेख करना चाहूँगा कि योग ने ऐसा नहीं कि केवल स्वास्थ्य को ही आगे बढ़ाया हो, अपितु योग के द्वारा जो इंटरनेशनल मार्केट है उसमें भी एक विशेष प्रकार का भूचाल और उछाल आया है। योग के भूमंडलीकरण के कारण, ग्लोबलाइजेशन के कारण हम यदि देखें तो अमेरिका में लगभग 2015 के आखिरी तक 37 मिलियन लोग योगाभ्यास करते थे, जो 2008 में केवल 17% लोग योगाभ्यास करते थे। आज योग से जुड़ा हुआ जो व्यापार है वो $5.7 मिलियन है और ऐसी संभावना है कि इस वर्ष के अंत तक $15 मिलियन के करीब हो जाएगा। और इस प्रकार से इसमें योग से जुड़े हुए वस्तुएं के योग की जो किट है वो उनका जो बिजनेस है, उस बिजनेस में बड़ी बड़ी बहुराष्ट्रीय कंपनियों ने अपना एकाधिकार स्थापित किया है, जिसके कारण छोटे छोटे मानवीय मूल्यों के जो उद्योग हैं उनमें वृद्धि हुई है। और इस प्रकार से हम यदि देखें तो योग में भी लगभग 18 से 24 वर्ष के जो विद्यार्थी हैं उनमें योग सीखने की जो आवश्यकता महसूस की जा रही है वह निश्चित तौर पर हमें इस बात के लिए अभिप्रेरित करती है कि यह जो विषय है, यह विषय सिर्फ हमारे और आपके चिंतन का नहीं है, अपितु एक प्रकार से मोमेंटम खड़ा हुआ है पूरे विश्व के अंदर कि योग के माध्यम से किस प्रकार से मन पर नियंत्रण और अन्य व्याधियों पर नियंत्रण किया जा सकता है, तथा साथ ही साथ जो असाध्य बीमारियां हैं उन बीमारियों को भी अपने मन से, अपने शरीर से इसको दूर किया जा सकता है। हमारे यह जो संगोष्ठी होने जा रही है इसमें प्रमुख तौर पर 5 सत्र हैं। उन सत्रों में वैज्ञानिक आयाम के बारे में चर्चा होगी, योग का जो प्राचीन इतिहास है इसके बारे में चर्चा होगी, योग में जो रिसर्च हो रहे हैं उनके बारे में, अप्लाइड एस्पेक्ट के बारे में भी चर्चा होगी, और योग के द्वारा जो मनुष्य के व्यवहार और उसके संस्कारों में परिवर्तन आया है उस परिवर्तन पर भी चर्चा इन 2 दिनों में हम करेंगे। और हमें विश्वास है कि हम अपने लक्ष्य के समीप तक पहुंच सकेंगे और एक छोटा सा योगदान हम अपनी संतुष्टि के लिए और दूसरों को प्रेरित करने के लिए इस संगोष्ठी के माध्यम से दे सकेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सब लोगों ने इतने मनोयोग से, इतने धैर्य से, शांतिपूर्वक एक ऐसे नीरस और सूखे विषय को सुना जो आमतौर है कि योग क्या है, कुछ नहीं है, हाथ पैर हिला लिए, थोड़े बहुत मालिश कर ली, तेल लगा लिया, ये योग हो गया। नहीं, योग की गहराई को समझना है तो व्यक्ति का पूरा मानस, व्यक्ति का पूरा मनोविज्ञान देखना चाहिए, समझना चाहिए। और ये मानस और मनोविज्ञान ही समस्त व्याधियों का मूल है, इसे हम समझें। मुझे विश्वास है कि इतनी खुशी है कि जो यूथ लोग हैं उनमें इसके प्रति थोड़ा है और वो आगे चलकर एक नया परिवर्तन हमारे लिए लाएगी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. There is another announcement. The entire inaugural program is going live in Facebook and YouTube. I now request Dr. S.K. Aruni, Deputy Director, South Regional Center, Bangalore Division, to give introduction to ICHR.
Respected Honorable Chancellor of the S-VYASA University, Guruji H.R. Nagendraji, respected Vice Chancellor Ramkrishnaji, P.R. Ramkrishnaji, respected our former Chairman, Professor Arvind Jamkhedkar Sirji, Professor Emeritus, Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj, Dr. M.K. Sridharji, the Registrar of the S-VYASA University, Dr. Soumya Chavan Madam, our teacher, Dr. Chudamani Madam, and Harish Sir, my colleague N.S. Babu, and all the participants of the today's 2 days seminar. In this, greetings to all you from ICHR. I'm here to, before you, to introduce ICHR as a representative from ICHR. Just briefly, I will be informing about the functions and aims and of the ICHR and various schemes which will be useful for the as well as the teachers, for the those who are working in the history subjects or historical themes of the your respective subjects of that. With my brief greetings, I will be introducing ICHR. All of us we know Indian Council of Historical Research was established in 1972. In March 1972. We have past 5 decades. ICHR is celebrating its foundation day, 50th foundation day in the month of March. We are reaching golden celebrations in this 2022. This reasons, this council is the part of the Ministry of Education, is an autonomous institution. Our former chairman sir is Dr. Arvind Jamkhedkar sir is the better. We know we have a lot gathered lot of prestige and also lot of various awards from the various institutions because of efforts of our various chairmen from the R.S. Sharma, Irfan Habib, Dr. Jamkhedkar, presently Dr. Our chairman is the Raghavendra Tanwar, is formerly professor of Kurukshetra University, is recently has been appointed as a chairman of ICHR. Indian Council of Historical Research is the functioning for the benefit of students as well as the teachers. Those who are interested or working on the research in the history or related to the historical themes, you are welcome to apply various schemes we have. ICHR is providing. Briefly just mentioning that we have various fellowships designed for the students and the senior students and teachers. We call it that is a junior research fellowship. Those who are undergoing PhD or conducting their PhD, they can apply from ICHR. ICHR offers 80 every year. 80 students or 80 research scholars will be awarded from the ICHR junior research fellowship, around 18,000 per month, and contingency will be provided to the students. We have another scheme that is called postdoctoral fellowship. This is also very prestigious fellowship. ICHR offers for 2 years. Those who are interested to continue after the research of the PhD, they can apply from the for the postdoctoral fellowship. It will be offered from the ICHR. you can avail that facilities there. We have a senior fellowship, senior research fellowship. This is meant for the senior scholars. Those have conducted PhD or published very good publications, or the retired professors. Those who wish to continue their research, they can apply from the ICHR. That is a senior research fellowship. It's a term for 2 years, and we have 50,000 per month. The offer will be given to you per month, 20,000, 50,000, and contingency will be provided to them. We have another fellowship called National Fellowship. Every year, 2 eminent scholars will be identified ICHR by the ICHR. 2 eminent scholars from the India will be identified. There will be ICHR offers the fellowship. This is a prestigious fellowship. No application will be called for, but ICHR identified and award the national fellowship. It's a very prestigious award which will be given. We have another additional fellowship called Gurukul Fellowship. I would like to mention here, Gurukul Fellowship is meant for the performing historical research kind of yoga. For example, yoga cannot be taught, or it cannot be, it is a way of practicing. By practicing, we need a guru. Through guru, one student will be given the shiksha. He will be given a lot of the teachings. The teachings, individual, that is we call it Gurukul Fellowship, is meant for the very senior, will be ICHR offers directly to the scholars, and it is a combined fellowship, sir. Guru as well as the Shishya will be paid by the ICHR for a term of 2 years. It's recently started by in 2000, Dr. Jamkadkar sir was the chairman. That time it was initiated in 2019. It was 18-19. It was started. Guru as well as Shishya will be provided by the ICHR. It's a very unique fellowship. Will be ICHR is offering to the scholars. Apart from that, we have a fellowship. We have a grants. Various grants we have ICHR. One of the grant which is a S-VYASA University has been offered. That is a seminar grant. Any institutions who are interested to conduct national level, regional level, or state level, or any other seminars. It can be seminars, it can be workshop, it can be symposium, various schemes, seminars we can be organizing. In the only condition is it should be related to history. That kind of themes will be selected. We have to apply for the ICHR, which is available in ICHR website. You can download. You just apply, and ICHR institutions can avail that facility. Seminar, workshop, symposia, fellowships are there. We have a publication subsidy grant. Those who wish to publish their thesis, PhD thesis, or any other historical research themes, the ready copy, they can apply. ICHR offers subsidy grant. Equal amount will be given to you, and you can publish it through any publisher, not necessarily from ICHR. If it is a very ICHR directly publish, otherwise offer you subsidy 50% of the cost of the production. ICHR will provide, and you can utilize that of subsidy grants. We have one more fellowship called foreign travel grant. For example, we have very good information. For example, the original data, original documents of the Vivekanandas in abroad. Suppose you have a documents related to your local history, which is not available in India. You have to travel to the other universities, other foreign institutions. You can avail the ICHR's foreign travel grant. Otherwise, suppose from the some universities are abroad, you want to attend and present a paper, you are welcome to avail the ICHR foreign travel grant. So these are the grants which will help you to utilize the scholars, particularly teachers as well as university professors or college teachers. It can be used by the participants as well as the scholars of this today's 2 days seminar. I would like to mention that how the structures are of the ICHR briefly. The Indian Council of Historical Research is headed by a chairman, professor. Usually the eminent historian will be selected by the Government of India. ICHR, the chairmanship is the very prestigious. Our former chairman is with us, Dr. Arvind Jamkadkar sir. And the eminent and those who are dedicated to life, entire life for the history, those will be given for a term of 3 years. He is the head of the ICHR. Under there, 18 eminent historians will be given as a members of the council members. It's a very prestigious honorarium. Of the 18 historians will be selected from throughout India. term for 3 years, and we have a member secretary as a secretary as well as the member of the council. He will be for on a deputation for 3 years, invited from universities or any institutions. So under that, there are 2 directors: director of research and administration, director of journals, library, and publications. After that, we have deputy director, assistant director, or assistant. We have 3 regional centers apart from head office in Delhi. One in Bangalore, Southern Regional Center, Bangalore. Entire South India regional centers we take care in Bangalore Center. Second one is Western Regional Center, that is the Pune Deccan College. Jamkar was the chancellor of the Deccan College. As a very important building to regional center at Pune, that is called Western Regional Center. We have one more regional center called Northeast Regional Center, that is in Guwahati. It is located in the Guwahati University. These are the 3 regional centers, and we have 2 more proposals are there. One in Varanasi. We want ICHR is planning to open a regional center in Varanasi, as well as the one in Srinagar in Kashmir, so that it will be reached to the basically the basic concept of the ICHR and ICHR's functions is to reach the scholars who not from the urban, even they want to a very remote area, they can easily reach to the ICHR's facilities. So ICHR is working for the last 50 years to reach the many scholars, and particularly the poor scholars and rural background scholars. And we are encouraging. We have libraries, 4 libraries in India. One in Bangalore, one in Guwahati, one in Delhi, one in Pune. This library provides the free of cost. No charges will be taken. You can always utilize the ICHR library, or you can consult the library. It is a very rare collections in our libraries are maintaining. So with this brief introduction, once again I thank organizers inviting me, and also very important 2-day seminar. Yoga is the concept of 2-day seminar, because we are in the pandemic period. This is how health conscience has been really triggered up now. Everybody wants to be very important, given to the importance of the health, but how to give the importance. This is the best way to understand how the yoga will help us to the community. Particularly the whole seminar is for the community, not for individual. So with this brief introduction, once again I thank the organizers, particularly Chancellor and Vice Chancellor and Dr. Samya Madam for this program and inviting me for this program. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words and a brief introduction to ICHR. I now request Dr. Soumya Chavan, Dean Division of Yoga and Humanities, to introduce Professor Arvind Jamkedkar.
Namaste. Shankachakra Sudhakumbha Divyaushadharasatkaram Bhakta Bhishta Pradhataram Dhanvantarim Upasmahe. With a prayer to Dhanvantari, who is the deity of health, who is the divine doctor, on this auspicious occasion of the seminar on understanding yoga and community health, ancient versus modern perspectives. With the permission of our Guruji, I, on behalf of S-VYASA, would like to introduce Professor Arvind Jamkedkar ji. At the age of 4, he started learning Sanskrit. And by, I think, 8 years, he was able to recite many chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And we have many such children here in our campus, on campus also. And by the age of 8, under his father's guidance, he learned the Vedas, many portions of the Vedas. And being a Ganapatya himself, belonging to the Ganapatya sect, His favorite chants were the Brahmanaspati Sukta, Saura Sukta, Ganesha Atharvana Shirsha, and many more. Until the age of 15, he performed Agnihotra. And in the Patashala, he learned Sanskrit grammar. And after his BA, he opted to specialize in the Vedas and linguistics for his master's. Also, he was a student of archaeology. And apart from knowing languages like Sanskrit and Pali, he knew many Prakrit languages like Apabhramsh, Ardhamagadi, Maghadi, Maharashtri, and Shauraseni, just to mention a few. He says he knows many more, and I don't have the list here, of course. So as an archaeologist, his discoveries are many, and his main discoveries were 6 Vakataka temples and also sites at the Vidarbha area belonging to Shaivism and Vaishnavism. Professor Arvind Zamkedkar is an alumnus of the Deccan College Postgraduate Research Institute, Pune, and has began his career as an academician as an assistant professor of Ardhamagadi in the Sanstha College at Dhule, and then as a faculty in the Department of Archaeology and University of Nagpur. He joined the Directorate of Archaeology and Museums, Maharashtra State, and served there as a director for nearly 10 years. He was recognized as a postgraduate teacher and a research guide, and he in the area of archaeology. In Mumbai, he is closely associated with institutes like K.J. Somaya Center for Buddhist Studies, Center for Archaeology, University of Mumbai, Gnan Pravah, and Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Sangrahalaya. He served the Asiatic Society as its vice president from 2007 to 13, and is the previous chair of Indian Council of Historical Research, New Delhi, from 2018 to 2021. He is presently the Chancellor of the Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, deemed to be university at Pune, 2016. He was the recipient of Netherlands Government Reciprocal Fellowship as a postgraduate student, and a silver medal holder from the Asiatic Society of Mumbai, sectional president of the All India History Research Congress, and general president of Maharashtra Itihas Parishad. He was also the general president of Indian Archaeology Society, Allahabad section. He has authored many books, out of which Kuvalaya Mala, a cultural study, and excavation reports as a joint author of many sites like Pauni, Naikund, Mandal, etc., and biography of Bhav Daji Lad in Marathi. And he has been an author of the Gazetteers of Maharashtra, a volume on history of Maharashtra, art and architecture in Marathi. His present project is very interesting on the cult of Renuka. So he's critically editing the manuscripts that they have collected from various sources, of which Amaligrama Mahatmya is about 2,500 verses, and Renuka Mahatmya is 2,000 verses, and a series of Sahyadri Khanda is about the Tirtha Kshetras on Konkan, Goa, and Karnataka. That also has many volumes. So this will be a translation, edited, and then written, analyzed on the cultural perspectives, and studied on site. He has visited all these sites and documented them and studying them. 3 volumes are almost ready, and it's totally 6 volumes and funded by the Ministry of Culture. And each of the volumes would be around 1,000 pages. So this will be his magnum opus. And many manuscripts are from Nepal. As we all know, the priests from the Pashupatinath temple are the Kannada priests with probably the origin of Maharashtra or Karnataka. And one from Baroda and one from Asiatic Society are the manuscripts. And uh, presently, he will be delivering to us and enlightening us about the historical perspectives of understanding yoga and community health. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I request all the distinguished dignitaries to kindly occupy the seats in the front as Professor Aravind Jamkedkar is presenting a PPT.
देखो एक मेल भेजा हो तुम ना उसको रजिस्ट्रेशन करना
ಏಕೆಂದು ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು
Yes. Yes, sure. Thank you. There is a difficulty. I will call you.
Just tell me the next slide. I'll change from
All right, all right. Thank you. Thank you. No, fine.
Then you can start, sir. You have 45 minutes to speak.
Yes.
Please. And PPT can be presented.
Sure.
You would like to sit or stand?
No, I like to say. No, no. No. Let's start. नमो गुरुभ्यः नमः S-VYASA यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णः श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर्ध्रुवानीतिर्मतिर्मम. When before some 1 month or something like that, I was approached by Dr. Chavan informing me about this seminar which is being held in this wonderful campus. I didn't have any idea, let me be frank. I was told about so many things, about the syllabus, about the type of studies which are going on here. But many times, such type of information which is in a pamphlet does not give you the real idea of what is happening and what exactly the place is and the people are. Yesterday when I had a walk around some of the buildings here, and then later on when I joined the prarthana at about 8:40, I realized
that there is a difference here. And when I listen to the two speakers, actually three, that is Dr. Nagendra and our own Ramdev Bharadwaj, explaining the concept of this particular seminar. In fact, I told Dr. Nagendra that, well, you have covered so many topics in such a wonderful manner that probably I don't have anything to say, much to say. But his talk made me realize one very important thing, and that is that, well, how we have to deal with the health problems which we have inherited to some extent, we can say, from the colonial rule, and how to put them on a proper gear. I happen to be working for some time as a, you can say, is a sort of a lekhanika in the Ayurveda kosha. And there, our work was to assist, and we were graduates of Sanskrit, and our work was to assist in the Vaidyas who were compiling that kosha. From that, I realized that the way the whole topic is scientifically dealt with in our tradition. For example, the modern treatises won't say anything about philosophy on medical sciences. They won't say anything. They are non-committal. Many times they would say that, well, it is known to the people, why should we say anything? But our treatises will start, first of all, with a philosophical introduction as to what exactly, how Ayurveda is connected with our philosophy. And that interconnection is very important according to me. Then there is another thing, I am reminded of the story. What is the origin of the diseases? While Lord Shankara was, a Sweda Bindu came up, and from that the Jwara came. As rightly emphasized by Professor Bharadwaj, see, diseases are not bodily. They are connected. In fact, as Professor Nagendra very rightly pointed out, Adi and Vyadhi, they go together. Vyadhis, if they are treated, they don't have any meaning. Because unless many times, say for example, many of the patients, they are terrified because of the type of Vyadhi they are suffering from. What the doctors say, first of all, is that you should be strong in your mind. You should say that I am going to be healthy. Unless you do that, all the medicines, they won't do anything. So these simple, basic things which are there, and they are there probably in the minds of all the people, even common men, illiterate men in India, are aware, even if they cannot express these things. I am very glad, and I went to the names of the participants and the types of subjects they are going to tackle with. I'm sure that all of you are going to benefit because of the papers. These are just introduction, as it was told. This is just an introduction, and this is going to inspire the future course of various types of discussions which are going to be held by the authorities, then papers which will be presented by novices, and the direction with the research in medicine, you will say our ancient medicine, it is going to take. With this small introduction, I would say that let me turn to what I am going to speak on the topic. If you see a big biodata was told about me, but you will realize that I am not really the right person to give a keynote address to such a topic which has got right from something like the sciences, modern sciences, then modern advancement in the medical sciences, modern advancement in psychology, as also you can say the therapies which are different types of, we have got a natural therapy here. For example, in Maharashtra also there is an awareness, and at Urali Kanchan we have got a very important center which was inspired by Gandhiji, and it is still continuing, naturotherapy. So somewhere all these things will have to become. And the most important thing is what is the role of yoga in this. It is needless to say after the introduction given by that yoga is very much essential, because whenever we talk in say Bhagavad Gita, any action, mana prana indriya kriyaha. So mana, prana and indriya, all these are involved along with your Atman, of course. So this sort of comprehensive approach or multidiscipline or multidimensional approach which is there in the Indian sciences, especially our darshanas like yoga and the various agamas, I'm sure that well in the future, the researches which will be going on here will be leading not only in what they do, but at the same time probably disseminating knowledge in a way that will be useful in general for the health of the people, because that is the subject we have taken. The two different perspectives, and you can say community health. That is community health. That is the topic we are going to discuss. I am going to deal with, in a very limited manner, how I look at this particular theme in a different way, and how, in a way, we are better qualified to take up this type of work in the future. I'm going to take a small, I will be telling you only in 2 or 3 points, you can say. The basic point is what is our development of religious traditions. Our religious traditions are definitely different from the religious traditions of the West, or the Abrahamic traditions as they are called. They are different, and because one simple thing, when one thinks about the Indian religious traditions, will say that who are the names that in a way matter or which immediately come before our eyes. Those names will be, for example, the various rishis who are there in the Upanishads like Yajnavalkya and others. Then Lord Buddha is there, Bhagwan Buddha is there, and Bhagwan Mahavir also is there, along with Parshvanath, who was also definitely a historical figure. What is the basic, you can say, approach of these people? When I look at it from the point of view in context of the various philosophical schools which were current at that time in India, there was something like, as the Jainas tell us, there was something like 363 schools were there, sophists were there, as they were called. They were moving from one place to another. They were the Shravaka, you can say they were the Shramanas. That is the Shramanic tradition is there. And the Vedic tradition, of course, is there. When I look at the development of various human groups and countries in a global context, as an archaeologist, I was told, for example, that urbanization is one of the most important things which happened to human life. I won't go into the details and won't give a lecture on the development of human society from the archaeological point of view, but the savages, then you can say the barbaric as they are called, that is those who live in villages, and the urban societies. One of the important things which is told in the urban society is that, well, there the idea of one God is there. That is, generally urbanization is connected with monotheism. And what we see in the West Asian societies, that is one God is fighting with the other God. I don't know, some of you might not have seen, but in my young age when I saw the 10 Commandments, one thing which was very clearly said, that the Pharaoh, he had his own God, and the other was the God of the Jews. They were fighting between themselves. So monotheism is the basic thing for a sort of an indication taken by archaeologists to be the first thing that is to be noted, that the earlier, you can say, religions of the aborigines, or you can say village people, beyond that we have come, and there is something like one God, and the king is the representative of that God. So monotheism is the thing. If we look at the Indian scenario, you will be surprised to know I deliberately mentioned the three names. That is Lord Buddha, then Bhagwan Mahavir, and you can say Yajnavalkya or the Upanishadic philosophy. If you ask Lord Buddha, he said, Dukkhanta is the most important thing. Actually, all our traditions, whether it is mental, you can say unhappiness, or you can say the bodily unwell being, we'll find that Dukkhanta is the common thing, whether it is Patanjali or the Pashupatas, or for that matter, the Buddhists. Dukkhanta is the basic thing, and therefore Dukkha Samudaya. Then you can say the Dukkha Nirodha Marga. These are the four noble truths which have been told. But he says, when he was asked whether there is a God, he said, I don't know. I don't bother to know what God is. Because the dukkha is the most important thing, and that is to be alleviated. And if the God who has created the world is responsible indirectly for this, I don't bother about the God. So he was, we can say in modern terms, something like an agnostic person. If we ask Bhagwan Mahavir, he will say that I don't believe that there is any creator God. He was an atheist. And if we come to the Upanishads, there is one philosopher by name Ichr. He is supposed to be a very important landmark after Kant, the idealist philosopher. He says that in India, when he discusses about mythology, he says that in India they have gone beyond monotheism. There is something like a concept of Brahman which doesn't have any gender. So there is no question of he or she being important. It is that, and in Sanskrit, as you will know, the word mitram is very important. Mitram is in neuter gender. Please remember that. A friend doesn't have any gender. So he can be real friend if it doesn't bother whether my friend is a boy or a girl, or you can say of what age he is. So in this scenario, when you look at the development of the religious thought, we'll find that our urbanization goes beyond the concept of monotheism, goes beyond the concept of monotheism in the sense agnosticism, goes even to the extent of being atheist, and at the same time believing in a principle that is beyond this world and it cannot be described, and that is what we want to know. So our idea is to know that great principle. Now, of course, Professor Nagendra will say that one of the ways to look at it will be studying it from the point of view of astrophysics, or for that matter, from the point of view of and other disciplines. So in a way, our discipline, our way of thinking is open for that also. That is the most important thing. Shall we? Coming again to, I think I'll have to go back. Our religious traditions, they start with the basic things such as pravritti and nivritti. When we were still listening to the lectures of Professor Dandekar, he explained to the development of the Vedic tradition in a different way. He said that many people say And well, the Vedic literature is very contradictory. On one side, it says that, well, one should perform the sacrifices because the sacrifices are useful, they bring rain. It has been very simply told that, well, it is because of the sacrifices that we receive the rainfall. And thereby the gods are in a way given the offerings because they give us something. So we are in a way, you can say, strengthening each other. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantuha parasparam bhavayanta shreyas paramavapsyata. That is how the basic, you can say, understanding of the sacrifice was. It was not simply for getting gifts from the god or trying to please the gods simply because they are great or something like that. The philosophy is something different. That even the gods need some strengthening which is given by the human beings, this world, and they help us. So it is a evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayatiya agayurindriya ramo mogham partasa jivati. So yajna was looked at from this particular point of view. But at the same time, if we go through the commentaries, I had the occasion to read some of these texts at my postgraduate level, Shatapada Brahmana or Vaipariya Brahmana. They make it very clear that it is not simple performance of the sacrifice, but knowing the secret of the sacrifice itself brings you more apurva. We don't talk about merit in the sense punya and papa. Punya and papa are the words which are used for a good and bad man in Sanskrit, early Sanskrit. It comes only as merit when Bhagavad Gita was being composed or something like that. So from that we developed the philosophy of Karman, and naturally with the development of the philosophy of Karman there is something like, there is a virodhabhasa, I would say. There is no contradiction, there is a virodhabhasa between the early tradition, that is the pravritti tradition of the yajnas, and the nivritti tradition which was developed in the Upanishads. What was the solution which was there? These two traditions, they become complementary to each other. And the Smriti literature, as it will be told, that in the Smriti literature they will say that they are not contradictory. The Vedas are to be studied, the sacrifices are to be performed in the earlier age, and then after passing on your responsibility to the younger generation, you are free to look after yourself, to know yourself and find your own goal, that is Adhyatmika goal, you can say. So this was one solution which was found. So there are already two schools, pravritti and nivritti, that is the nivritti marga of the sannyasins, those who go to the forest and seek liberation from this dukkha of this world or samsara. The solution, one solution was like this. The second solution was in the form of the agamas. You see, the agamas, if you read the Narayaniya Upakhana of the Mahabharata, you will find that how the agamas are Satvata Dharma or the Bhagavata Dharma, it is described. It is described as Nivritti Para Pravritti Dharma. It is Pravritti Nivritti Dharma. While remaining a householder, you can attain salvation. This is the assurance which the agamas give. And in this light, when we see the type of movements which are there in the south, there are 4 or 5 acharyas who are there. They are annotating on the Brahma Sutra, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the basic thing, you see, that is in a way, they are not something like the scriptures. I would call it, don't take it otherwise, it is something like a practical manual for a person who wants to be on the right path. So you will find this Agama tradition, whether it is Vaishnava, I will just move on. So this Agama tradition brings us to the 4th way of life. And all these are accepted by our tradition. Whatever way, for example, when it was told that, well, Shuka at the age of 8 or 10, he had already mastered all the Vedas. He went to his father, and once when Narada was there, he asked him, I'm not still satisfied with my knowledge of the Vedas. What should I do? He said, you find out a guru. When he asked Vyasa, he told him to go to Janaka, because this is our tradition that we never directly teach our own children, you see. A guru should be there formally for him to give the right type of knowledge. Who was the guru who was chosen? Janaka, who was a Rajarshi. And why Rajarshi is there? Because both, as argued by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, it is Karma Yoga is for Sharira Yatra also. Because if you become a simple sannyasin, Sharira Yatra also becomes very difficult. But at the same time, the Loka Yatra is very important. And therefore, Janaka was that type of ideal that you don't renounce the world, but at the same time remain in the world. But then what for do you remain? For the welfare of the people. So that idea which is expressed through Bodhisattva in Buddhism, the idea which is expressed by, you can say, a person who has realized the Parabrahma in this very world, but then continues to remain. That is, you can say, one who is a yogi who has realized the thing and is still continuing, he is not dying. What for he is there? The same idea continues in the bhakti, you can say, movement. All our bhakti movement people, they say that we remain in this world, we don't have anything to gain, for the welfare of the people. So this basic idea of karma yoga, which is very important. I will end with this particular thing in a different way. And according to me, then the whole of the gamut of Hindu religious tradition will be complete. You see, these are the four things which are followed in the normal religious tradition in a Nagara form, you can say. What about those persons who are forest dwelling? What about those persons who are not culturally have come up to the level, because Nagara or the urbanization is connected with philosophy. That is one of the basic things, philosophy, then you can say both natural sciences and other sciences, and therefore they are culturally, you can say philosophically, an elevated position. What about those persons who are aboriginals, who are on the lower level, that is, who are living in villages, don't have the higher technology, those who live in the forest? So what them? For them, our own historical tradition tells us that, well, we follow the tradition of what is called the assimilation. We don't disregard people who are of a lower materially, or you can say philosophically at a lower level, and therefore Hinduism has developed, and that has been given vent to by persons like Sades, who has studied Southeast Asia. He says Hinduized states of Southeast Asia. Hinduism is not a religion, it is a way of life. It includes Jainism, Buddhism, and all these things. What we do, when we Hinduize a person, you bring to a particular way of life, outlook of life towards looking the religion, to the gods, and so many other things with this background. We say that, well, we won't wipe out your ethnic identities. Basic thing. Many times sociologists and anthropologists, they wonder that, you see, in India, there are something like 6 language. I was saying 4 language families earlier. Now, my own vice chancellor in the university, who is a linguist, he said, sir, there are 5 language families in India. Language families are there, and there are 2,000 dialects which are there. That is our richness. And now the modern societies say that all this heritage, tradition, ethnic tradition, they are to be preserved. They are not to be wiped out. They have to make special efforts for that. But in our own process of urbanization, what we have done, that we have preserved all these things, keeping their honor with themselves and still being part of the way, the modern way of life, or you can say the progressive way of life. So in a way, if we have to understand Hinduism, we have to understand at least these 5 ways of looking at the religious ideals. The Pravritti Marga, that is the sacrificial religion, the traditional Yajna and other things. The other is the renunciation, followed and revived by persons like Vivekananda. And the third is the Bhagavata and the Shaiva tradition, the Pashupata Lukulishagama, then Vaishnava Satvata Dharma, And there are so many. So you will find that it does not stop with Shaivism and Vaishnavism. It comes to, you can say, Shaktism. And then it comes to, you can say, Ganapatya and also Murugan, Saura. These are the different agamas which are there, wherein that particular god who was popular at that time or in a given society, that was given the status of Brahman. So the basic idea of Brahman was common. Everybody tried to explain the thing in his own way, mainly through the Sankhya system, cosmology. That was also, again, another very important thing. And then they developed their own tradition. What is the basic with the agamas? These, as I am saying here, every agama has kriya, charya, then yoga, and then jnana. Yoga is the medium which is there. So you will find that in the earlier tradition, that is the Pravritti Marga also, when they come to meet with Upanishads, they have to have yoga. Then the Upanishads themselves have, it is very important again. As Professor Bhandarkar has shown, you see, it is the Seshwara Upanishads. He has termed this, coined this terminology, Seshwara Upanishads. That is, the theistic Upanishads are there. Shvetashvatara, Mundamandukya. These are the Upanishads wherein, for example, Rudra is taken to be the deity. He is the Parabrahman. Keno Upanishad says, the Parvati is asked, what is that? Bhuta Yaksha. He says, it is Rudra. And that Rudra can be reached not simply by, again, the Upanishads very clearly says, it is na jnanena, na tapasa, na medhaya. It is only dhyana which is important. And Shvetashvatara Upanishad says that it is with dhyana, that is yoga, you have to realize the soul. You cannot simply because you have got so many degrees or something like that, or simply because you have tortured your body in a particular way or not, or by, you can say, medha, that is genius. Even genius cannot find out the God. It is the dhyana, it is the yoga. You have to concentrate. And a very good analogy has been given that, well, you are yoga, and with the arrow of dhyana, you pierce the first, you reach there. So this is the, you can say, type of philosophy. So simply because it is this school or that school, all schools, whether it is the Pravritti Marga, the Nivritti Marga, or for that matter, the other Marga which I told you, that is the Agamas, all these four facets, and in the new things also. Let me mention, by the way, that you have to understand it from the historical point of view, how Shakti and Shiva become very important. My own friend, Professor Arjun Warkar, says that yoga is to be understood in three phases. The first is, he says, the rational yoga of Patanjali. The second, he says, that it is religious yoga based on faith, and that is Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga has the basic thing, and the body has to be immortal. It is not your Atman. Atman is immortal, but in this very body itself, and Anahata Nada is there, so you have to concentrate on that. And then so many chakras and nadis and so many other things. He says it is a matter of faith. Probably as students of the medical college here and the discipline here, you will have to address these things. It is said that it is believed. Then the third phase, he says, it is simply superstition and magic. By simply saying, rationally saying it like that, we'll have to find out. And here is the right person, I would say, sir, that wherein you can carry on the experiments. What is, you can say, what the other people call is faith in yoga, what the other people call is superstition and magic in yoga, that you will have to address and make out a clear path and understanding for the future generations. So that is why in short, what I mean to say, whether it is all the 5 angles through which we saw Hinduism, everywhere, yoga is the most important thing. Now, these are the very manifestations I am trying to show. For example, in the Bhagavata tradition, this is the Vishwarupa. Actually, I prefer to call it Vishwamurti, because the Vishwarupa which was shown, this is from Nepal, that is from Ahmedabad, one of the earliest images of 5th century, beautiful image, wherein the importance of Vishnu is shown with the help of the 12, you can say, Bhairavas, then Ekadash Rudras and 12 Adityas and so many other gods. How is Vishwarupa? But the basic thing is, again, as I told you, in all these will be, this is the popular. In fact, I'm sorry, my typist could not write it correctly. Kalos vilokakshayakar pravuddhan samahartumiya pravuttaha. That is how Bhagavad Gita says. So that aspect of Vishwarupa is only the ferocious aspect where he is ready now to swallow all the persons, and therefore the description there that, well, all the sarve mukham vishanti, all the yodhas which are there in the battlefield, they are entering your mouth. So Arjuna is convinced that, well, and therefore he describes himself as Kalos Loka, is one of the aspects of the Vishwarupa. These are some of the aspects in the Agama, for example, how yoga is important, because there is something like a yoga Vishnu. Very good examples I have taken from Dr. Devangana Desai's book. And here is yoga. He is the Paravasudeva, you can say. And that is why, if you can see that, well, Trita and other rishis, they cannot make out. They have not been able to meet. It is only Narada and Arjuna probably. These are the only two persons who have seen the great Vishnu. But it is the yogis who are trying to do that, and therefore you can see all the figures. Similarly, yoga, Vishnu is also depicted. Mauna is, because a sannyasin is called a muni in our tradition. That is the basic thing. Mauna is the basic thing. Unless you have mauna, I'm talking, but I want to be able to concentrate as to who I am myself. And therefore, one has to observe silence. So that muni is there. And the third, again from Khajuraho, wherein Kurma has been shown, in another place, Matsya has been shown. The explanation of that is yet to begin, but the yoga aspect is very much emphasized in the Bhagavata tradition. There is another, you can say Vaikuntha is there. In the Vaikuntha Murti, the face which you see at the back is that of Kapila. Kapila is the most important person because he is connected with Sankhya as also. He is a yogi, he is a Siddha. And therefore, in all the descriptions, whenever the term Siddha is there, please remember that he has to do something with yoga. Without that, you cannot become a Siddha. You will see the face of Kapila in a very different way. He has got a Jamakuta. At the same time, because of his penance and other things, he is very ferocious looking person. So again, there are four aspects, whereas this aspect is Kapila. One is the Baladeva aspect, and that is connected with the Jivas, and the other is Aniruddha. Aniruddha is no one else than the Sheshashai, what we call Sheshashai Vishnu. Actually, these are not the avatars of Vishnu. Bhagavata tradition will say these are the avatars of Narayana. Vishnu is one of the avatars. Trivikrama Vishnu is one of the avatars. So we'll find that here in one face, of course, this is the Harihara image. I have brought it because of the face of Kapila, which is there. He is one of the yogis and siddhas. Again, Nara-Narayana are important. These are the two rishis who carry on the same tradition. In fact, it is told to us that Krishna Bhagavan and Arjuna were Nara and Narayana incarnate. So that tradition is very much inherent. Here, what we call Sheshashai Vishnu, it is actually Narayana. You can call it Narayana. And it is representing the battle of Madhukaitaba, and of course there is a paper which is being read by Professor Nandagopal on Yoga Nidra. So when he is reclining like this, he is not simply reclining. He is in Nidra because the world has come to dissolution. It is to be born, and it is told to us in the Devi Bhagavata, for example, that Mahakali or that type of aspect of Shakti was on his tongue, and that is why he was sleeping. And therefore Brahma makes it a point to awaken him. When he awakens, then Hayagriva form is there and he kills, because again the God who is associated with knowledge is also associated with yoga. Hayagriva is connected with knowledge, and because the four Vedas are protected by him. Again, the earliest images I'm important showing that in the Deccan, these are the earliest images of the Bhagavata tradition. The Kevala Narasimha and Trivikrama. I discovered about 6 temples, and then it got altogether a different dimension. But why I'm showing Narasimha is that there is something like a Yoga Narasimha also. There is a cult of Yoga Narasimha. When I consulted some of the persons in the in Dharwad and that area, they were told that we have come from the Godavari region, you see, and we have got our own cult of Yoga Narasimha. So that tradition is there. In the Bhagavad tradition, again, there is a Yoga Narasimha cult which is there. And of course, I need not tell you who this god is. He is from Hampi. The Yogeshwara Narasimha, the Lakshmi is missing, of course. And again, as I told you, the Bhagavata tradition has gone to Cambodia. 5th, 6th century image of Hayagriva, which is there, again, that yoga tradition has gone along with the Bhagavata tradition to Cambodia, and these are the images which we find in India also. When we come, I told you that, well, somehow, meaning there will be scholars who will be reading papers on that how yoga is inherent there in the Vedas. But there is an archaeological way of saying, you see, that the Pashupati is there in the Mohenjo-daro and Harappa civilization. It is an enigma. He cannot be called Rishabha, though the Jainas will call him Rishabha because he is having horns or something like that. But these horns are of a buffalo. They are not of a bull. So it is still enigmatic. But simply saying that yoga comes at the Upanishadic level cannot be accepted. Marcia Iliad, who has written Yoga, Immortality and Freedom, very clearly says that it is our inherent tradition which is there. Our word during the time of Upanishad. And therefore, Jainas would say that he is Rishi, say that he is Shiva, Yogi, because these are the two figures which come. They are still mystic figures, and this is a challenge, I would say, to some of the Indologists who will be sitting here to understand how this must have come up. But one thing is very clear, that yoga system was there right from the times of our Harappa Saraswati civilization, as we will call it. Again, coming to this tradition, we'll find that, well, here is a yogi, because Pashupata is represented by Lakulisha. It has got its own yoga. For example, when a yogi of this type, he need not be a sannyasin. At some point, he becomes a sannyasin. But first of all, he starts his initiation by living in the house of his preceptor. Then he lives in an ayatana, in a temple. Then he lives in a cave, and afterwards in a smashana. And accordingly, the four divinities which are associated, Sadyojata, Aghora, Vamadeva, and Tatpurusha, those mantras are to be there. So there is something like a yoga which is definitely there in the Pashupata tradition. What I wanted to emphasize, that you take any of our religious traditions, one thing is very clear, that Sankhya and yoga systems are somewhere or other part of it. I just hurriedly go through again. Jnana Dakshinamurti and Vyakhyana Dakshinamurti, but Yoga Dakshinamurti is equally important. Here is, of course, Veena Dakshinamurti, but then here is the Yoga Dakshinamurti. So there is yoga, because this brings about with your Charya Kriya. In Kriya, you are told how to build a temple also. In Charya, you can say daily activities as also the annual activities, they are described. But then after this Charya, it is the yoga, the means through which you attain jnana and you attain the moksha. But then that yoga naturally, tradition, it will take a different form. That is the charm of India, you see. And we don't have something like a monolithic yoga system. It has been flowered in different, you can say, philosophical and metaphysical grounds in its own way and in a very unique way. What I wanted to emphasize, and yoga is the religious tradition, complete, whether it is Nagara or whether it is, you can say, aboriginal or whatever it is. You call it magic and other things, and therefore Tantra is despised by some very people who have got their own Victorian ideas of, you can say, Nitimatta and rules and other things. But there is some yoga, and therefore that also has to be studied properly. Why? It was told, say, for example, we are given a demonstration in New York when we are presenting our papers on 21st of June, probably in 19 or something like that. I read a paper on yoga of Haribhadra Suri, and there a demonstration was given that because of the utterances of the Vedas, there are different types of vibrations which are there, and they can be seen on the screen, you see. So scientifically, we have to investigate this scientifically, because people will simply discard it, saying that, no, it is all mumbo jumbo magic, Indian magic or something like that. It is not so. All those roots, and it is the responsibility of all you researchers and students of Ayurveda to take up this job and bring it into the practice. This is the main thing which you have to know about. This is one of the best illustrations of Dakshinamurti, which is there at also at the top at the Sukhanasa. So Yoga Dakshinamurti is very important. Yoga has to be there. If you come to Buddhism, I will not go again into the detail. The basic thing, again, Buddhist yoga, or what is called Vipassana, is that there are pancha, you can say, things are there: Rupa, Vedana, Savanya, Samskara, and Vijnana. What is the root cause of the grief? Lord Buddha will say that Rupa is there, then Vedana is there, sensations are there. But when Savanya comes in, that is, you label a particular experience as good and bad, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana, Ari and Mitra. That is how Bhagavad Gita will say. Different levels of differentiation, and we create ourselves miserable. Actually, if I look at it from the archaeological point of view, you see, for the sake of why does man develop himself? Technologically, earlier it was said that technology is very important. Anthropologists said no, social life is also very important. That is why Nagara is very important, because it is the most, you can say, smooth way of being very comfortable, and at the same time, you can say, materially more happy. But then you have to pay the price, you see. For this, the urbanization with our all new, you can say, technologies and so many other things, these are the problems which are faced by, whether it is a society represented by the persons who are capitalists, and a society which is there in communism. There also all these problems are there, because of our different way of life, which we have chosen as the Nagara way of life. I am coming to that in my later part of the speech. You see, that modern, you can say, we are progressing, we are becoming more scientific, but we are becoming more miserable also. There are so many problems, and those problems ultimately will be addressed and successfully addressed by yoga only. That is what is my conviction. So in Buddhism, we have got after that 5 Dhyani Buddhas, who are usually referred to as Tathagatas. Similarly, attached to those Dhyani Buddhas are Dhyani Bodhisattvas also. Because again, I told you, that the ideal of a person who is a karma yogi, or a person who has attained liberation and seen, has got kaivalya, is for the welfare of the people. That is the basic thing which yoga and Indian tradition teaches. So that is very important. And Avalokiteshvara and all these, if you see Avalokiteshvara, it is very simply told in Saddharma Pundarika that, well, you approach if you want a girl as a child, if you are in a boat and suffering. There are so many types of dangers. There are, you can say, lions in the forest, the kings, men are after you, they are going to kill you. You approach Avalokiteshvara. This is at a simple level. But then Avalokiteshvara also stands for Upaya Kaushalya, in which yoga will be there. That is the most important thing when you go to the upper levels. These are the different, you see, Tathagatas or the Dhyani Buddhas, and on the other side you will find those. Now, for example, Buddha is accompanied by two Dhyani Bodhisattvas, as they are called, that is Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani. Vajrapani is connected with Akshobhya, and Avalokiteshvara is connected with Amitabha. Coming to the, sorry, I will have to my speech, I necessarily went in details or something like that. Again, yoga is part of the Jain tradition also. In Preksha Dhyana, there are Dasha Bhavanas which are there, and those are to be meditated upon. The basic tradition is the same, yama, niyamas, and you can say the philosophical doctrines which, as they shape and as they flower, I would say, in different types of metaphysical routings and other things. We come to the second level, and these are the Natha Sampradaya yogis. In fact, now archaeology, it is very clearly accepted from the example at Pandale Kaji, that how Buddhism shifted to Natha Pantha. And these are the different 84 yogis, they are common. In the popular level, for example, Natha Pantha has got Gyaneshwara, who is the person representing the Natha Pantha, but at the lower level, it is the bhakti of Vittala. And how Vittala is perceived by Gyaneshwara? He says, Aisa to Vittala yogi raju, to Vittala maza is favorable to me. He is going to bless me. Bapa Rakuma Devi Guru, for a simple, illiterate, common man, before he is initiated in the higher levels of the yogic tradition and understanding, he has to approach Vittala, who is a Yogishwara. Please remember, his qualification is Yogishwara. Again, another Dattatreya is again another Yogishwara. It is a very good study by Dhere on this. Development of Datta Yogi goes into the Tantra tradition, and then later on he becomes associated with the Bhagavata tradition as also Manubhava tradition. And so yogis have their own very important role. Those who don't accept the Vedas, they accept yoga, and Yogi Raj is one of the most important things. We'll skip some of these things because then I mentioned this particular point that yoga is perceived by some rational scholars in three phases. That is rational, faith-like, and superstitious. We will have to address these problems. In fact, seminars like this, we should give a sort of a inspiration to the young scholars. We old scholars, we have made some observations, and I will be happy if those are shattered. I'm looking forward to them. Again, I've said it in different ways that, well, it is at different levels, whether it is the Upanishadic level or the Agama level or the popular, you can say, there are panthas which are there. So these different panthas, whether it is Varkari or Mahanubhava, in all these, yoga is an integral part, you see. We have never left yoga. Yoga is something like our Atma of our metaphysical life. I will come only in short, if you don't mind. Coming to the problem, there are different views. I tried to explain the, you can say, traditional view, how yoga is looked at. In the they were impressed, and they fitness point of view. But then it is not only simple physical fitness as we see it, unless the mind is addressed, unless the mind is controlled, unless the mind is, I won't say controlled, it is disciplined in a proper manner. You won't have not only real worldly happiness, but also spiritual. I mean, I'm not a great spiritual man or something like that. I cannot say anything about it. But as our yogis have told us, there is something, those who live a life of simplicity and work for the people. So this is the ideal of yoga. In modern days, we have got so many stresses and other things. Then there are, you can say, as they call it, clash of civilizations. As I told you, Indians don't have any clash of civilization. We don't have any clash, and that is why there are something like 5 language families which are preserved. If you go to America, if you go to Australia, if you go to New Zealand, where are the Maoris? Maoris are in the museums. They are not there. Their ethnic traditions have gone. We never do that. So, and this is what our tradition and yoga has taught us. So, the message of yoga will be that of a Jivan Mukta, that of a Bodhisattva, who strives for the welfare of others. And naturally, when he does that, he's of course well ahead of it. He has set an example. Friends, brothers and sisters, as Vivekananda would have called, I'm not of that high stature, philosophical or metaphysical, but I feel that I should actually congratulate the ICHR, not because I belong to that. I congratulate them that they understood the importance of this particular meet. And as expressed by our Dr. Nagendra ji or our own, you can say, Bharadwaj ji, I would say that, well, this is going to be a point wherein people will be inspired to do more and more. The proceedings of the seminar, they will definitely inspire people. Again, as I told you, I'm not a person who is a yogi, nor a person who has practiced yoga in such a manner that I can be seen as an example or something like that. I'm a simple student of history. I try to look at the contribution of our civilization and its importance at the world level and the prospect. All of us probably who are sitting on this side, they may not be there, but it will be you people who will be giving the lessons. And that is how we are going to be Vishwaguru. Not only with scientific knowledge, but because of our yoga understanding. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on the Hindu way of life with respect to sculptural history. I now request our dignitaries to felicitate our chief guest, Professor Arvind Jamkedkar, Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj, and Dr.
Distinguished speakers and the elated audience. It gives me great pleasure and honor to propose a hearty vote of thanks at the end of this inauguration of the National Seminar on Understanding Yoga and Community Health, Ancient versus Modern Perspective, sponsored by ICHR, Government of India. At the outset, I offer my grateful thanks to very renowned, world-renowned historian, Indologist, archaeologist, Dr. Arvind Jamkedkar, who has come all the way from Pune for this program and has given the keynote address. His keynote address, he has given us the historical perspective of yoga, community health from the times of the Rig Veda through the passages of the epics, the Puranas, and to the present. Through his very brilliant and elucidative lecture, we are aware as to how important the yoga was from the times of Rig Veda, then as of now. So we are ever indebted to you, sir, for your highly illuminating and very brilliant and informative keynote address in this morning. We offer our grateful thanks to Dr. Ramdev Bharadwaj ji, the former Vice Chancellor of the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Hindu University, Bhopal, and Professor Emeritus of our university, for giving the entire idea, taking the initiative, the burden of writing the proposal, submitting, following it, and making this to happen today. We are ever indebted to you, Professor Ramdev Bharadwaj ji. We are thankful to Dr. S.K. Aruni, the Deputy Director of the South Regional Center of the ICHR, for giving us the various fellowships, the scholarships, and also various types of grants available through the ICHR, so that we can have more such workshops, symposiums related to Indian history, related to various dimensions of Indology, so that Certainly, we are going to bother you more, sir, with more and more workshops and other things for our young, talented students here related to yoga, Ayurveda, and Indian knowledge system. You know, you are all very aware that the AICTE has come forward with a great initiative of the Indian knowledge system, propagating Indian knowledge system, for which they have selected 468 young students from across the length of India, around 1,500 paper, 1,500 aspirants were there. They have, did interview. They have finally selected these 468 young scholars. In the next 3 months, will be working on Indian knowledge systems. List goes endless as far as the topics are concerned. So, and also now I request our Honorable Chancellor and our Honorable Vice Chancellor to kindly felicitate our distinguished guests. Please, go on, go on. Close. I offer my grateful thanks to all the distinguished speakers who have come from various parts of Bangalore or elsewhere, especially Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal, who has made time, who is a very renowned art historian. She is a UNESCO fellow, and recently she completed a Tagore National Fellowship in Delhi, and she was former academic head of Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, and she is the Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Jain University. He is very much here. In the afternoon, she is going to present the paper. And we also have Dr. G.B. Harish, former director of the Vivekananda Center in Hanoi, Vietnam, who will be also speaking in the afternoon, and Dr. Nandagopal, that is a former advisor to Jain University, all of the S.K. Aruni and others who are here to make their excellent presentations in the post-lunch session. I thank all our students of the BSc, MSc, PhD in Yoga, the Bachelor of Naturopathy Yogic Sciences students and the staff members, the non-teaching and the non-teaching staff, and the dozen committees, the conveners and the members of those committees who have made this to happen today and tomorrow. To all of them, and to our academic dean, Soni Kumari, and to our very dynamic Chancellor, Dr. H.R. Nagendraji, who is the backbone of all these activities, who is always take very much interest and see to it that with the minutest detail to make this happen. So we are thankful to our Honorable Chancellor, who is our guiding spirit, source of strength and inspiration, for making this seminar a grand success. We thank our the Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Manjunath Sharma ji, and other people, as well as the invitees. Dr. Prasad is here from VAYU, Vivekananda University, America, Los Angeles, America, and the various other persons, including our Dean of Academics, Dean of Academics, Dr. Soni Kumari, Dean Division of Yoga Humanities, Dr. Soumya Manjunath, who has been working, burning her midnight oil to make this a grand success. We are thankful to all of them and especially to our campus supervisor, Narendra and his team for all the arrangements. And we especially offer our thanks to Sri Ravi Shastri, the journalist who has come all the way from Anekal. And with his friends, he'll always hear, I gave a phone call yesterday evening. He was in Chennai in the morning. So he has rushed is here to give the excellent coverage of our program in all our daily chronicles. And Ramdevji has kindly accepted to, give of this program, of the entire program, so that it will be published in Hindi all over India. So and the unique thing in this seminar is that we are training our students, PhD students, to write the reports. So we have our colleagues, we have our reporters who are going to make the report of every session, and that's how they are going to be trained as they are the scholars of tomorrow. So I offer my grateful thanks to each one of them, directly and indirectly responsible, including our audiovisual team and to our Deputy Director of the IT Solutions, Mohan Kishore, and others, which is going live through YouTube and Facebook and whatnot. So before I end the session with Shanti Mantra, because now we are supposed to end up the program at 12:30 and followed by lunch, but anyway, it's delayed by half an hour. So we are going to have lunch, break for lunch, and assemble here at 2 o'clock sharp. I request all of us who are here to be present at 2 o'clock. And initially, the paper will be presented by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, a very renowned, internationally renowned Ayurvedic physician on Ayurveda perception of public health, followed by Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal, Yoga as lifestyle medicine for community dwelling, elderly population by our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Manjunath Sharma, and Yoga Nidra concept of Indian art and architecture, the integrity of the imagery of Ranganatha form of Mahavishnu by Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal, and Yoga and Community Health by Dr. Harish GB. So you are all welcome for this afternoon session. Now we break for lunch with Shanti Mantra. Come.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you very much. We break for lunch. I offer my thanks to Dr. Sri Gauri, who has sung the Invocation.